Of the Texas economy. I know we have heard from so many of you today on our Facebook page, on Twitter, emails, phone calls about your concerns and your questions in regards to the Texas economy reopening again. We'll start with, of course, the stay-at-home order expiring on Thursday, this Thursday, and then on Friday, we will see the gradual reopening of certain businesses across the state of Texas. And joining us to walk us through all of this tonight is a member of the governor's strike force to open Texas. Here in Houston, we have Massey Villarreal, who is joining us. Massey is the CEO and president of Precision Task Group Incorporated. He has served in several positions across the city of Houston. Massey, we thank you so much for joining us this evening.
It's my pleasure.
Good. So there are so many different pieces to this plan and reopening that's going to take place on Friday. Can you give us first off a general overview of what people can expect to happen on Friday?
Well, all of us who have been, at our houses and coming out with masks and gloves and washing our hands more than we ever have in our lifetime, we'll see the gradual reopening of the 10th largest economy in the world. And one of these economies of this size has to be kind of kick-started into place by small steps. And so the order the governor has expires on Thursday, and Friday we'll see a 25% reopening of retail and restaurants. And so it's a small step forward, but it is forward.
So with this reopening of certain businesses, retail, that includes shopping malls as well, restaurants, what are the expectations from the state for this reopening of these businesses? Do they need to adhere to social distancing? Are there any guidelines for these businesses that will reopen?
So let's back up to, I guess, to square one. One is that, while the governor says it's not mandatory to wear a mask or gloves, it is recommended that you still go out and wear a mask and glove. We're still learning new things about this virus on a daily basis. And we don't know if you can be reinfected or not, and there certainly is not a vaccine to date. So, it's going to proceed with caution. First of all, we take care of our seniors. The mortality of the whole cases in the state, 76% of all mortality have been seniors over the age of 65. So we need to first take care of our seniors. And if you're over 65 years old, it's probably advised that you take every single precaution by wearing a mask, wearing the gloves, wash everything, disinfect everything you possibly can. Don't have contact with children because they get out in playgrounds and run, and we want to protect our seniors, which are the most vulnerable of our communities. And so as we start our businesses, restaurants, bringing employees back to work. These employers have to train their employees to wash your hands with soap. You have to paper menus. Condiments that we see in our tables, our restaurants, our ketchup, our mustard, and sugar, and those things will no longer be on the table. You'll have to request those condiments. And so I call it the new normal. And so every menu needs to be disposed of. Utensils will be disposable. So again, if you go to a restaurant and you don't see those things, you might want to think twice about sitting there. Plus, the parties can't be bigger than a party of 10. And you must be 6 feet apart from the other party. So if you look at a restaurant that has a 100 people capacity, the purveyors is asked to keep 25% capacity only until for the next 2 weeks, which is the first phase starts Monday. The next phase kind of starts around May 18th, and hopefully as we look at the progression of the virus and the people that are hospitalized and in ICU, that this thing is going opposite direction and we're decreased, and then it'll increase to 50%. And hopefully after that we see some positive numbers. Then we'll have a gradual reopening of all restaurants. But again, the new normal will exist. And if you look at some of the like movie theaters, you can go to a movie theater, but you must have at least 2 seats between persons. And I guess the standard rule here is 6 feet apart. So when we're talking about reopening business and opening small capacity, we have to start the economy. People need to go back to work. But again, the ultimate underlying thing we have to be concerned about is washing our hands, disinfecting, handles. Go to a cashless environment where try to use credit cards as much as possible. In retail, where you have a store of some sort, 25% capacity, and then where the store really has to do a good job of trying to see what is really handled by non-glove handling customers. So they're going to have to look at those things and potentially continue to clean and swab. It's going to be, again, a new normal.
Yeah, it sounds like social distancing is still very much critical and very much a part of the plan with this reopening.
Yeah, it is truly social distancing at a retail basis. And again, if you're a sole proprietor, you're a one-man shop, you're a flower shop, you can open. Again, you have to absorb your own protocols as you get your supplies coming in. You still have to be concerned about the handing of against boxes that may be carrying some of these viruses. So again, disinfecting incoming equipment or incoming material is always important. So again, we'll open these businesses, and again at malls, except for the food courts will be closed. Kids areas where kids play in malls, that will be closed. But again, hopefully we'll get the retail shops open and get some of these small businesses and some of these folks back to work.
Massey, how will these businesses be monitored, the 25% capacity that they're supposed to keep and to not exceed that? How will the state monitor these businesses, or is it a trust policy?
Well, believe it or not, there's a lot of folks who are always civil patrol, and they're always looking at things and reporting things they see as anomalies. So if somebody drives by and they see a little boutique with 50 people in it, somebody's going to report it. So there'll be a lot of stuff reporting. We don't, police have so much to do with, traffic and criminals and those kind of, those things that they have to patrol. And hopefully that police and fire department won't be having to engage going to a small boutique and asking it to close, or a small business and asking it to close. So I'm hoping that employers will take in mind that this is a gradual step, a one step forward, and that, I know everybody's struggling. I know everybody's hurting financially and not working, but for us to get back in here running fast and getting capacity and getting sick, only going to bring us back to square one. And no telling how long the next part's going to be.
Let's talk about what's not going to open come Friday. So we know that hair salons will not reopen, gyms will not reopen. Run through what will not reopen and what is the logic behind waiting on those businesses to reopen.
Well, if you go to the gym, certainly, you're going to be touching the equipment. Every piece of equipment gets touched at the gym. You'll be sweating. You'll be breathing hard, and this disease is passed by contact, by droplets from your nose and your mouth. And so if somebody sneezes in a piece of equipment, maybe because I clean it with my hand or my sweatshirt or a rag, doesn't exactly clean this virus. So those gyms and those bars that still where there's extreme contact, the hair place. I mean, we all need a haircut. And so I think those will continue to stay really close until we see again a flattening of this curve of epidemic and infection. And I know all of us want to get a haircut, and all of us, you can't go online and buy a pair of clippers because they don't exist because everybody's got them. So I think those businesses are one where there's extreme contact, and again, we're taking a very this is when the governor is surrounded by a bunch of medical experts. Everything that we suggest as task force members with regards to business and touching protocols and business and retail goes through these doctors, and these guys are experts in pandemics and infectious disease. And so the thing is, how do you stop the rate of transmission? And those businesses or those retail opportunities where there's a lot of touching, I mean, those are the ones that are being looked at very closely.
Right. I think the concern for most people who have expressed interest on our Facebook page has been that, it's not so much about the vanity side, people needing a haircut, but the people who are unemployed right now, the hairstylists and the technicians and so forth. Anything that you can say to kind of comfort them at this time and having to wait at least an additional 2 weeks to get back to work?
Well, first of all, I want to make my appointment first to get my haircut. But I think that, it's going to be, it's kind of, I hate to say it, call it an investment of safety. But right now, since we're just now flattening the curve, I think 4 people died in Houston today. And if you talk to first responders, you talk to medical, they're urging us, they're there so we can, and asking us to stay home. So I know it's hard. I know the SBA put out a tranche of money that became available this morning. I know they're trying to find some relief. The governor has a plan, an economic plan as well, to figure out a way how to get some relief to these folks. And the Texas Workforce Commission has probably had more unemployment requests than it ever has in the history of the agency. So we're fighting through a new normal, and we're trying to be as responsive. The Workforce Commission has added, like 1,000 new people, and they're working 24/7 to be responsive on the unemployment. I wish I had a better answer, but I know for a fact that I've talked to the executive at the Workforce Commission, and it worries them ultimately that they're just not able to attend to anybody, but I know they're addressing it.
Yes, sir. So another question we've received from viewers on Facebook: where do daycares fall into these opening dates? Because, with the reopening of the economy, there are a lot of parents now going back to work, but they have daycare needs. Any discussion that you're aware of when they might flip the switch on daycare's reopening?
Well, I don't think that was addressed today. If you think about, there's still a lot of stuff undecided. We talk about community colleges where they're training first responders, phlebotomists, and nurses. And, you can't learn to draw blood on Zoom. So there's a lot of things that we're trying to figure out how to get back to normal, because we need those first responders. We need daycare. But again, based on the mortality rates, the infection rates, again, contact, and the fact that while a child may not show to them, they could be corona, I guess, enabled.
Okay, so
an older person.
Go right ahead. We were trying to work out a little bit of a technical issue here on this side. But I think another question that's come up time and time again today, as we've been going through our Facebook post and emails and comments from viewers, is what if there is a flare-up? What if we have reopened these businesses and in 2 weeks we see a sudden increase of cases? Massey, is that part of the conversation as well with the strike force and with the state?
It really is. The governor, the county judge, Lina Hidalgo, Sylvester Turner. We're looking at this with numbers. It's data-driven, science-driven, and so if we see a spike, if we go from having 4 deaths a day to 14 deaths a day, or we have more the infection rate, or we talk about the members at the hospitals, all the ICUs, or all the ventilators, that we see an uptick. We'll have no choice but to back up to square one and reissue these stay homes, the mandatory mask, and those kind of things.
I think a lot of people here in the Houston area, it has been one of those issues that has been much discussed, is about masks, and now the requirement for all Harris County residents, all people in Harris County, to wear masks when out in public. Yet we heard different from the governor today. Let's listen first to what Governor Abbott had to say in regards to wearing masks.
We strongly recommend that everyone wear a mask. However, it's not a mandate, and we make clear that no jurisdiction can impose any type of penalty or fine for anyone not wearing a mask. Everyone should be encouraged, but by my executive order, it supersedes local orders with regard to any type of fine or penalty for anyone not wearing a mask.
So Governor Abbott basically saying today that his citing on this supersedes the county judge and the mayor as well. I think a lot of Houstonians, quite frankly, are confused in regards to wearing a mask out in public. What is the message? What do you want Houstonians, Harris County residents, to know about wearing a mask right now as businesses reopen and as they go out into the public?
Order by Judge Hidalgo to wear a mask under potential fine has been waived. The executive order of the governor supersedes local municipality orders. So Lina Hidalgo could require you to wear a mask, but you are not going to be fined under the executive order of the governor. So it waives any fine that you may get. Now, listening to Sylvester Turner today, our mayor, he said that if you run into a police and you're not wearing a mask, you might be confronted, but you're going to be offered a mask instead of offered a citation.
So, Massey, let's look forward to the future now, because we know we're going to reopen on Friday certain businesses in 2 weeks. Hopefully we will see more. Walk people through what they can anticipate after this week's opening in regards to fully reopening the Texas economy.
Well, you have to understand there's going to be more scrutiny in the numbers as we open up restaurants and we open up these retail. If we see people coming to our emergency rooms as we start documenting, more people in ICU, the numbers will be very telling. Also, in the report today is this new thing called contact tracing, and contact tracing means that the governor, this task force the governor's office has hired over 1,000 contact tracers, and that means that if I'm a reported COVID infected person, then I should report that who I was with in the last 10 days or so, 14 days. Those people will be contacted by these tracer, and they will start tracing, who you were and associated with, so to make a list as to flatten out the curve. So if you've been exposed to someone who's been contacted that has a virus, that we can flatten the curve and potentially get those people to shelter in place for 14 days until symptoms have gone away. So we'll be looking for, as restaurants start to open, that there'll be a very keen eye placed on numbers and statistics. And we're hoping that, young people are out there, participating in buying food at restaurants, and folks having a great time and taking a little bit foot off the brake a little bit. But again, we have to be very mindful that certainly all of us will be under the scrutiny, because nobody wants to lose a relative, because we try to get to the economic side pretty quick.
All right. Massey Villarreal, we thank you so much for joining us this evening and answering our viewers' questions about the reopening of the Texas economy starting this Friday. A number of businesses to reopen with 25% capacity. Thanks for filling in all those blanks, all those questions people may have had. Folks, we'll see you back here tonight at 10 o'clock with more information for you. Until then, have a good evening.